Howzit Bru? How you doing? Welcome to this video. Lovely to have you. And what a weekend of rugby. Here I am recording a game video, recap video on a Sunday. Not used to this. This is normally where I'm having a little nap. But anyway, welcome to the channel. This is Kenneth from Rugby Bru. If you're new here, I'd love you to subscribe, leave your comments, join in the conversation with the community. I really appreciate it. So, Springboks play Scotland, and what a game. Not one I really enjoyed, but the end result I'll take, right? So Springboks end up beating Scotland 32-15 in Murrayfield. I must say that scoreline flattered us a heck of a lot. I actually thought for extended period of time, maybe three quarters of that game, I think Scotland were a better team in terms of their attack, in terms of how they were playing, and they really brought the physicality to the Springboks today. So let's take a step back before I jump and go all crazy. Springboks had to wait until around about the 73rd, 75th minute to get some breathing room, because up until that point, we were about 19-12 ahead, and Scotland were really threatening us. Very aggressive in terms of ball carrying, and well, not just aggressive, but effective. Getting over the gain line, they were creating lots of different gaps in the defense, dog legs, and opportunities. And I must admit, our defense was fantastic in parts, but then very ordinary. And so, a couple of things that I just want to chat about. 11 changes from our previous game, our last game in the Rugby Championship against Argentina. And so, you guys, I didn't actually do a preview video for this game, but you guys would have seen me in the review of the All Blacks versus Ireland game and the review of the England Australia game. I actually said, I don't know about this team. I'm not too crazy about it. And it wasn't necessarily the personnel. It's just like this team was more of a mixed match team, and it didn't quite have the balance to me. And so, I got all my predictions for this team, the selection predictions, pretty much wrong. And apart from maybe the front row, which was okay, that's the front row. I was a little bit surprised by Mostert. I mean, he got a half there. But to have guys in the team against, the Scottish team is not a bad team. And the thing that we must realize, first of all, this wasn't a great performance by South Africa, but I hate to say that because it actually takes away from the opposition team. Is people say, oh, we played badly, we played average, and I saw that from some of the fans, other fans over the weekend, and I can't stand that. And the reason why I can't stand it because Scotland were fantastic. Yes, we were ordinary, but a lot of those mistakes, a lot of that ordinary and average performance comes because you're being outperformed by the other team. And I thought they were much more effective in terms of limiting their mistakes. I thought they were much more effective at the breakdown. I thought they were much more effective in the shape of their attack and their ability to create space. I thought they were much more effective in terms of getting over the advantage line as opposed to us. I mean, we started off brilliantly. What a great little cross kick there from Hondre to Mapimpi. He had a great game, Mapimpi, and scoring two tries, but he got that first try. I thought, okay, this is easy pickings here. Just the guys are full of confidence. Off they're going to go. And when I say easy pickings, it's not out of arrogance. It's just like, okay, this team's got a 80-something% win ratio this year. They're just going to carry on. And so, is I want to give props to the Scottish team because I thought they were fantastic. And we had a 7-1 split here. And I wasn't crazy about that 7-1 split. And the reason why is I wasn't crazy about it is because we know what kind of game that Scotland plays. And so I could see what they were trying to do. We know that Scotland has really good outside backs, right? So that back line was phenomenal. They had a debutant, I believe, at fullback, and what a game he had, Jordan. And so I thought, hey, hang on, if we're going to think that we're just going to play this game by just grinding them out up front, then I don't think that's a good thing because that back line will be able to carry on going. And remember, in the World Cup, is Scotland actually were held sort of parity with us in that first half in terms of physicality, and actually won a few scrum penalties from us then, right? So I wasn't too crazy about that, But Rusty is the master. Hey, I'm not a coach by any stretch of the imagination, but I wasn't crazy about everything. And I think, I heard an interview today with Rusty, and he said, to be honest, he said this whole week I was nervous with this team making 11 changes, and I wasn't sure how some of these guys would perform. And that's why when I looked at the team, I thought, okay, in the spine of the team, they've got the main guys, except for like the eighth man, meaning hooker. You had the experience there with Bongi, Ox. You had Earban there. You had Franco with experience, but Franco's been out for a while, right, with that injury. And so, then you had the Jaden and Andre, although Jaden's new, he's been playing regularly. But I thought, okay, Andre's there with experience. And then in the spine, you've got old Willie Leroux and then Mapimps on the outside. So that with having Willie, Andre, and then Bongi and Earban there, almost the whole spine apart from eighth man, we should be okay. And I just want to say is that Scotland put up a fantastic performance and they came to play. And this shouldn't be a surprise, right? Because when you start looking at the Scottish team, and bear in mind, right, this isn't the Springbok A team or whatever, but if we keep speaking about the depth and we keep telling people, we, the fans, keep telling others, oh, we could put out 1, 2, 3 sides. I've spoken about that, but I think it has to be a combination. When there's more than a certain number of players, that side's definitely a B team. And this had a B team look and feel, right? But when you don't have players like this who we know sort of the A players, they've played together for a long time. In fact, they were playing together under Hanneke Meyer, the 2015 World Cup, which wasn't great, right? They had started there as young guys. So they've played together a heck of a long time. But a lot of these guys in this team as combination haven't played. So you don't have that ability to gel. But we thought that this tour would be experimental because we know there's a 4-year plan, right? And as Rusty says, he wants to be able to have anybody come in at any time due to an injury and everything just works seamlessly. So you have to bear those items in mind, right? But for me, I think we really struggled at the breakdown. Again, at the line out. The line out hasn't been great this year. Our breakdown, we're not always dominant there, and that goes back even to last year, right? That's where Ireland was so effective at the speed that they got to the breakdown. All Blacks this year got to the breakdown very quickly. Argentina got to the breakdown very quickly ahead of us a couple of games, and then we sorted out. But our line-out hasn't been firing this year. It didn't fire again. And I thought Jaden had he struggled today. And just like Cortez Rotima was struggling. He wasn't getting clean ball. And that might be interpretation of the refs and what guys can get away. He had to jump over players to get to the ball. But he struggled yesterday, but he was yanked early, right, in 40th minute. And Hendricks, I was surprised that he didn't get taken off at halftime or just shortly after halftime because he struggled and made a couple of errors. We made a lot of errors. Quagga Smith made a lot of errors, uncharacteristic. But I'm actually not a huge fan of Quagga starting at number 8, to be honest, or starting on the side of the scrum, wherever he starts, right? And so, is going back to the Scottish team, though, is remember, these guys are now playing us in the URC. So that maybe fear factor, like, hey, all these Springboks or these South African players, they're big, they're physical. These guys have played in Loftus. They've played at Ellis Park. They've played in Cape Town. They've played in Durban. They've beaten our teams home and away, right? Some of these players. And so they become used to, oh, hey, I can handle this. Or, hey, I understand the physicality that comes now. Hey, I understand the way that these guys play. And then you look at Skuman. I mean, he's born, educated, raised in South Africa. You got Duhan van der Merwe. They're not going to be scared or intimidated by these guys. You got Dylan Richardson, born, raised, schooled in South Africa, chose Scotland. And hey, I'm not criticizing that they're playing for Scotland, but the mentality is, hey, this guy's not going to be scared of us, right? And then you've got, Finn Russell, who's played, overseas, plays, globally. You've got I forget the name of the wing that's playing right now. Same thing, right? Kinghorn, Blair Kinghorn, I believe his name is. And so same thing, he's playing in Europe and that. So they're going to become accustomed to the physicality. They're going to become accustomed to playing against South African teams. So they know the physicality that has to come with that. So it's not a big surprise for them. And with that given, you can see they didn't show us the fear, respect, like I have to stand back to these guys. They came at us. So you have to give them those compliments. But I thought we really struggled at the breakdown. We struggled at in our lineouts again, and we made far too many errors in critical places. What we did really well is when we got into their 22, we spent 6 minutes in their 22 and scored 4 tries. So we're clinical. We were able to go to our power game at the end and close out the game. Those are the things that we got to be pleased with. Our scrum was good, right? And our physicality stepped up, but it took the bomb squad a little while. And if I listened to Gregor Townsend's actual news conference, he said when somebody asked him, hey, well, what about the 7-1 split? And they're bringing on, a whole pack of forwards, essentially. Doesn't that become intimidating? Did you think that's where he lost the game? And he said, actually, no, we're not intimidated by that because those new players have to adapt to the pace and the rhythm of the game that's happening right there. So it's not as if they have immediate impact. Sometimes they do, but they don't have that immediate impact. I'd say the scrums definitely did. So, but in terms of the actual open game, that took them time to adjust. Sia struggled a little bit. Achia Snyman struggled a little bit in the beginning. So it didn't have that immediate impact. But, and he also said, is those new players took time to align defensively, and the bomb squad is what actually created a lot of space for them, in that second half and going towards that last 10 minutes and where they got that momentum. And they said, okay, we in the ascendancy here. So those are just little things. So you got to be careful of that. But I think also I'm jumping around a little bit here with having those 11 changes. I think Rusty saying, hey, I was nervous for the selection. I believe that's why he went to that 7-1 split. And those guys that he brought on, those were in his insurance policy, right? So that's those 7 forwards. Say, these are the guys I know I'm going to count on. And so it took a little while for them to count on, but once we got that power play, we were able to go forward, remove some of our mistakes or cut down some of our mistakes. And Grant Williams made a huge difference when he came on. The pace of the distribution, the speed of the ruck, everything sped up. However, we also have to acknowledge the power of the forwards at that stage because the bomb squad's starting to kick in now, right? So it's unfair always to compare the replacement scrum half versus the starting scrum half because the starting scrum half forward pack didn't have that dominance, didn't have that clean out, this clean presentation of the ball. Took the bomb squad a little bit of time, but I still think Grant Williams, the speed of distribution, the pass, and the threats around the ruck is just creates that little bit of space, creates that little bit of doubt. So at the end of the day, we got home comfortably in terms of the scoreline, but it wasn't a comfortable game. But hey, you can play crappy, you can make 11 changes and experiment and still beat one of the better teams by 17 points. We can take that, right? So let's look at some of the stats just to finish off here. Springboks had 55% possession. In terms of territory, Scotland had the lion's share there, or lion's share, 51%. We scored 4 tries. They had 5 penalties. So that's 2 games in a row that Scotland haven't been able to score against us. But despite that dominance in possession of 55% to 45, meters gained 416 versus 316 for them. And I must admit, the difficult thing with sharing stats with you guys, stats are so different. So when we look at on the TV at the Autumn Nations stats, they look really high, showing this player ran 120 meters, that one 100 meters. I was thinking, really, these guys are clocking up. But when we come to some of the apps that provide us with the stats, it's very different. So I don't know, some of these stats in terms of meters gained in that seems to be a little bit off. But anyway, so 416 meters gained for the Boks versus 316 for Scotland. That actually surprises me a little bit. But here's the kicker. Out of those 416 meters, we only beat 17 defenders. For Scotland's 316, they beat 26 defenders. So much more effective with the ball. And we saw, oh, by the way, I was talking about the URC. Remember, Hugh Jones too. I mean, he's not scared of South African players or the physicality. Schooled there, raised there, and played rugby their age group level, right? So gain line carries 74 to 54, passes 151, 148. Again, that shows we didn't have the creativity, we didn't have the shape, we didn't have the structure with our attack. I thought our attack was quite disappointing for the most part. I'm saying that we scored 4 tries, and I thought they were more creative, created more space, more defenders beaten, etc. But the 148 passes versus our 151, so they're just more alive and effective with their attack and their possession as opposed to us. We actually have 7 more offloads than them. And we both won 5 turnovers, which is surprising to me. Kicks in hand, 26 from us, 22 from them. Some of those results in tries, of course, 2 for us. And the things that show up here, our tackle success rate, and I spoke about this in the beginning of the rugby championship too. And one of the stats where we were really low, we had a 79% tackle success rate. Now, I know the blitz defense of ours is, hey, we miss a lot of those tackles. They're normally high because we push people in. This is still higher than our averages, right? So this is higher than, lower in terms of tackle success, and I'm talking about higher missed tackles than with our best blitz performances. So it's, if you I'm comparing apples to apples here. So there's definitely a drop off in our tackle success, 79% versus 88 for them. And you could see that, right? You could see like Hugh Jones making a lot of ground with some of his carries, Jordan making a lot of ground with his carries. And then goal kicking success, Pollard missed a couple of kicks. Again, our lineouts, 82%. So we only won 14 of the 17, struggling with the lineouts, where they had 85%. And then the thing is, right, we both conceded 11 penalties. Here's the difference, though. In our own half, we conceded 7. So that shows you discipline. It shows you interpretation of referee, and it shows you effectiveness at that break point or breakdown or ruck or more, whatever, that they were more effective than us. And I thought their back row was amazing. I really did. And so we conceded 7 in our own half. They only conceded 4. And that's why they had those penalty kicks, right? So you can't just say that's pressure, and we've got to try to stop them, right? Because we're struggling, we're on the ropes a little bit. But in the opposition half, they conceded 7. So they were happy to concede penalties in our area, but we couldn't score points from there, right? Especially when your lineout's not firing at close to 100% or what it used to. And then there was a couple of cards, a yellow card for Mapimpi and a red card for them. Red card was ridiculous. Which player was, I understand croc rolls and that's very dangerous. I thought that was, I don't even think the player knew it wasn't the right guy. Did they have the right guy? Because 2 guys were doing the same thing. But the one guy missed the leg and the other guy didn't. So, hey, I think that's a little bit crazy. It's the first time we've seen the red card rule with us as South Africans. So at least the guy comes on. It doesn't completely ruin the spectacle, but they were without a player for 20 minutes. We were without a player for 10. And I don't blame the referee in that, right? He gets called. He gets something in his ear, takes a look at it, goes through, verifies with the touch judges and the TMO. He's one guy of 4 decision makers. So it sucks. It's a worry for rugby. But hey, here we are. It was a good game. Props to Scotland. Showed up. But then you have to say, like, now I might seem a little bit arrogant, but hey, we made 11 changes. A lot of those guys are not our first team changes. We played poorly. Didn't really gel. Very rusty, it seemed. And we still won by 17 points, even though that scoreline might have flattered us. A score is a score, right? So they played out of their skins. They couldn't score a try despite their dominance on attack. We got a dog yapping in the back here. My neighbor's dog. Apologize for that. But I don't know. Maybe something he's trying to scare off a burglar. Anyway, yeah. So at least we can take the win. And I also want to give a mention to Fiji for beating Wales. They had the chance in the World Cup, knocked on when they could have. Scored that winning try. So first time they've ever won in Wales. So congrats. And Argentina did phenomenal and blew Italy out of the water. So 4 wins for the Southern Hemisphere teams this weekend. And we got a tough one against England next week. England have lost 2 in a row. I bloody told the Aussies and the All Blacks, please don't do that because we want to have it easy next week. But they're going to be fired up because they're under pressure. Their coach is getting criticized. Their players are getting criticized. But the good thing is that this game should have given us a wake-up call. I don't think Russie was too impressed, and I don't think the players would have been too impressed. So we'll expect the big guns to start next week. At least we get this crappy performance out of our system. And so I think we can go with a short turnaround time, 6 days. We think we can go with a little bit of fear into this week to say, hey, we better buckle up. Otherwise, we're going to get blitzed off the park. So it's going to be an absolute crack of rugby next week. All Blacks versus France. And forgive me, I'm not even going to go look now and correct in that sleepy Sunday afternoon. But I believe that it is Australia, Ireland, or Australia, Wales. One of the bloody three. Or Australia, Scotland. I don't know. So great rugby still to come. And yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching. Girls, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I love all your guys' comments, you guys giving your input, your insight. Remember, try not be negative. Let's keep it positive. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love you to subscribe. Leave your comments, your thoughts, your predictions. And I want to know what you guys want to see from the South African team, the Scottish team, English team, Aussies, All Blacks for the games next week. And I'll be creating some great content this week for you guys. And I really appreciate all your comments. I really appreciate all you guys subscribing. Have a beautiful week. And I really appreciate you guys. Take it easy. See ya.